Hey, everybody, welcome back to Mechanics of Poetry, Season 2, Episode 9. Number 9. We will look at 3 poems by a poet, or I guess I will look at, well, I'm looking at them with the poet, that's right. So it is we. And, I like to just spontaneously react to these poems. It's what I share, what goes on in my head when I actually see these poems for the first time. And it might seem a little obnoxious, I don't know, but it's a good process for me as well. I get ideas from these poets. I've said it before in this series. The best way to get an idea for a poem is just read another poem. It's really true. It's really true. I'm sure my guest today will agree. It's Coco, everybody. There she is. And as traditional in this second season, you have the chance to say whatever you like before we put up the first poem. Go ahead, Coco.
I want to thank the best publishing editor I've ever met, Mr. John Kingfisher Campbell.
Oh, God. Okay, we got to cut to the poem. Cut to the poem. Cut to the poem. Right now.
You said I could say what
You're bringing out my brogue.
I just want to say it's truly an honor to be a part of Spectrum, and I'm so glad and happy to be a part of this community. A lot of these poems would never see the light of day if it wasn't for you.
Okay. And then she said.
Is that big enough on the screen for you?
I can read it clearly. I hope our viewers can too.
And then she said, I want you to worship me, hands and knees on the ground, kissing the earth of my planted seeds of wisdom and hard, ship that sails across the oceans of times, thoughtless prayers to a God that only sees in one-dimension dreams on the paper you wipe your ass with. You see, Mama taught me never to look down, only up at the sky that belongs to the heavenly goddess of empowerment. There's a one-direction path mapped out on my ovaries, glistening dewdrops of rainbows, capturing the breath of a baby's unheard cry, 3 stories down in the welfare line that Grandma knew she should have brought more pennies to pay for her rights to be heard by a man that knows she can handle 10 times the amount of salt-lit wounds and lemon-filled grapes of generosity. 6 seeds that will grow more women to plant more rows of mothers and daughters that don't need much water to survive. Since the drought ended when Mother Nature decided to take back all the gifts of oxygen tank-filled observatories, when you finally figure out that women are what bore you into existence and breathed you into life, you know the real truth that God is a woman filled with vengeance and spite in every racist bigot she places in front of you just to see what you'll do. You see, she knows you ain't got the time for that shitless nobody when your Starbucks latte is 3 degrees colder because they used the wrong milk from the breast of a woman you never thanked for giving you nourishment. Let me braid your hair into ropes that help you climb out of this ditch they dug for you before you were born, handed you a shovel and called it pride, and you just won't let it go because fear equals freedom when you point the gun in the right direction and pray that the recoil doesn't backfire into your guilt of just being stagnant, of just being another mushroom growing on the fields of equality, telling the worms that no one else belongs here but you. Hey, you. Yeah, you, the one reading this with eyes and ears that see the injustice, that hear and see the injustice of humanity, but do nothing about it. Yeah, you. Did anyone tell you that you saved my life today? How did I do that, you might say? Well, you read this poem took in my words, let me breathe over your shoulder as you read it, rather than telling me you ain't got time for bullshit nobodies like me, a colored woman, with only these words to change the world.
Well, if you can go back to the start of the poem, I can give you my 2 cents.
Okay, 2 cents. Scrolling back up.
Ba-dum. Well, it's a strong first line. It establishes the long line pattern. And for those grammarians out there, she seems to have foregone the necessity of commas. So deal with it. I want you to worship me. I want you to worship me, hands. Yeah. No. You wouldn't read it like that. I want you to worship me. Hands and knees on the ground, kissing the earth of my planted seeds of wisdom. So this is just something that is an option for poet to punctuate or not to punctuate. And I like to think people can figure it out just like I did. You know, that's my point. And there's a delicious enjambment already, the very first line, and hardship has sailed across the oceans of time's thoughtless prayers to a God that only sees in one. I'm letting that reverberate. Dimension dreams on the paper you wiped your ass with. So this is a great example of the multi-talented aspect of the Coco. She has the world famous alliteration you find in almost every poem. And then that special secret ingredient that you don't find in every poem, the ability to get caustic. Oh yeah. Just in case you weren't paying attention. You see, Mama taught me never to look down, only up at the sky that belonged to the heavenly goddesses of empowerment. Now there's an uplifting line. And then you got the ellipsis going on there. So I'm thinking that the thought is moving away, right? Let me recap. That belong to the heavenly goddesses of empowerment. All this down up is a one direction path. There you go, looking up. It's a one direction path mapped out on my ovaries. Now that's interesting. Glistening dewdrops of rainbows capturing the breath of a baby's. Now here, the computer got you on this one. Is this one baby or more than one? What is it? What is it? Make up your mind. One? More than one? This is the beauty of putting something up in Word. You can make me look the other way. I'm looking the other way. Oh, what happened?
There you go. There it is.
Yeah. This is, you know, everybody needs someone to look at their poem. That's so true. In the welfare line that Grandma knew. I got that right? In the welfare line that Grandma knew, I got that right. She should have brought more pennies to pay for her rights to be heard by a man that knows how she can handle 10 times the amount of salt lick wounds and lemon-filled grapes of generosity. This is just, you're the female Allen Ginsberg.
Oh.
Yeah, look at this, the ability to make long lines like this. This is just, not every poet can do this. I'm serious. Not every poet can do this. This is really remarkable. Spit seeds that will grow more women. See, look at that. Look at that imaginative, figurative language there. To plant more rows of mothers and daughters that don't need much water to survive. We got an analogy going on. Since the drought ended when Mother Nature decided to take back all the gifts of oxygen tank-filled observatory. So this is really making me feel a Ginsberg vibe here, but this is the female version, right? This is the goddess version. But, oh, I wanted to scroll. Can you scroll a little bit? Just scroll a little bit because I'm ready to look from when you finally figure. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good scroll. Thank you. Oh yeah, that's the rest of the poem. So no more scrolling. Yay. So to me, this is like explaining it. When you finally figure out that women are what bore you into existence, and notice the choice of the word bore here. We were just talking about that double meaning. Yeah. Bore you into existence and breathe you into life. You know the real truth, and to breathe you into life, right? That's that Judeo-Christian handed down stuff. Yeah. You know the real truth, that God is a woman filled with vengeance. Ah, man, that had killed me because I thought God is a woman, the world would be a nicer place. Filled with vengeance. Filled with vengeance and spite in every racist bigot she places in front of you just to see what you'll do. Now that brings it home, you know, that brings it down to reality, right? It's been very majestic so far, but reality is still there. You see, she knows you ain't got the time for that shitless nobody when your Starbucks latte is 3, I love this stanza. It's 3 degrees colder because he is the wrong milk from the breast of a woman you never thank for giving you nourishment. Oh my God. That's a snapper. Let me braid your hair into ropes that help you climb out of this ditch they dug for you before you were born, handed you a shovel and called it pride, and you just won't. Ah, they want an apostrophe.
I know.
Let it go because fear equals freedom. Yeah, this is just righteous. This is awesome stuff. You know, it's like everybody's got to read this. This is a poem that needs to be read by as many people as possible. And look at that, fear equals freedom. Spend a little time in your brain on that one. Yeah. When you point the gun in the right direction and pray that the recoil doesn't backfire into your guilt of just being stagnant, of just being another mushroom growing on the fields of equality, telling the worms no one else here, belongs here but you. Wow, I couldn't be more in agreement. Yeah, I'm still amazed. People of both sexes don't want equality. Some people, not everybody, you know. But just some people, you know, they buy into the system that exploits them, that de-empowers them, and they go along with it. They go along with it. They sell their souls to go along with it. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of someone specific in Texas right now, but okay, I got to get back to the poem. Where am I? Oh yeah. Hey, you. Now that's the famous Volta, the shift. Just about every good poem's got one of those. Hey, you. Yeah, you, the one reading this with eyes and ears that hear. Oh man, that's music to my ears. And see the injustice of humanity, but do nothing about it. Woo! I wish I wrote that line. Yeah, you. Did anyone tell you that you saved my life today? Now that was interesting and surprising. And of course you explain it. That's really the saving grace at this moment. How'd I do that, you might say? That's exactly what I was thinking. Well, you read this poem. Took in my words. Wait a minute, there's some kind of arrow on words there. Your cursor is on words, you see it? No. Is that your cursor or my cursor? Well, it's my cursor. Never mind. Let me breathe. Wait a minute, it says let me breath. Oh. What the hey? You know, now that's something Mr. or Miss or ungendered auto check won't catch. Let me breathe over your shoulder as you read it, rather than telling me you ain't got. And ain't here is different than the other ain't, right?
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's different than the other ain't. The editor in me picks it up way too fast without even trying. The teacher in me picks it up. You ain't got time for bullshit nobody's like me. Wow, which really hits home with just about any poet. A colored woman with only these words to change the world. Perfect dismount. If they didn't get it by now, they're not going to get it. Well, I'm glad I got to spend time with that poem. Yeah, like I said, this poem's got to be seen by as many people as possible. So we got to work on that. I'm
Funny
ready for the
is
second
that when,
poem. Did you want to say something? Go ahead.
that what's funny is that when I wrote it, I thought it was nothing.
You thought this was nothing?
I did. And I
Hey
sent
people,
it
hey
to
people,
you.
if she thinks this is nothing, what do you see? The poem she thinks or something. Oh my God.
And then I
It's good
sent it to
stuff. Good
John.
stuff.
And then I sent it to John and I was like, is this anything?
Well,
And
you
yeah,
know, I'm glad you said that, you know, because it's the job of an editor to find what is good in everybody. Everybody needs encouragement and everybody needs to read each other's poetry. Oh, a signal coming in. Oh man, my sister. I can't stop the recording. I'll just have to say, please text me there. She can text me whatever it is. All right. Uh-oh. Oh, there's a poem. Yeah. Let's do that.
no, I still keep going. Okay.
Poem.
All right. So the next one to follow that is another feminist poem, The Monument of Womankind. When you look at me, I want you to see that I'm still standing. For everything life has thrown at me, I caught it all, threw it back, and said, keep trying. Against all odds, with the weight of mountains upon my back, I still said, I will not stay downhill. I can take it. I can make it. I can hold the universe in the palm of my hand and create a new one with the other. For every woman, for every daughter, for every wife and sister that was abused by a mister, I want you to know that I'm still standing. I am standing in front like a blockade of titanium steel, shielding their prosecution. Strike me, oh trite little me that you swallow your insanities at. Yes, I am a bitch. I fight back and fight back, little chihuahuas like you. Yes, I am a dyke. My balls will be bigger than the nothing you keep grabbing at. Yes, I am a cunt, if that is what the shunt in your little brain keeps telling you. Yes, I am a whore that will never stop pounding at the door of truth, equality, and demand that you be a decent fucking man. Yes, I am a slut, if that is what you call a woman to hide your predatory, non-consensual actions. You want to grab me by the pussy to make sure my clit isn't bigger than your dick. Keep trying to strap me down, to hold me still, to cover my mouth, to tell me what to do with my body, to tell me who to be in my own skin. I will break every bone in my body before I succumb to any piece of shit scum like you. I am a goddess. I am an empress. I am the queen of queens. Take a look at the Statue of Liberty and you'll see my face there. Holding the torch, harnessing the flames of creation and truth, I'm still standing. A monument of creation, and it will take a hell of a lot more than someone like you to knock me down or take me out. I'm still standing. And I will never let go of this torch. So let the flame burn through the eyes of every man, woman, and child's eyes so that all can see. I am the light and truth for all women. And with this poem, you will never be rid of me.
Hey, you know, I know this poem already.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just, this is one that you think is something, and it is. Drink to that. Okay. How to encapsulate. I just stand in awe. I stand in awe. And the first thought I had seriously, the first thought I had was there was a series on, I guess it was cable TV years ago, called Deaf Poetry Jam. Russell Simmons' Deaf Poetry Jam. Like for 5, 6 seasons. I have it all on DVD. And you should have been on that show with this poem. I'm serious. I'm serious. You would have rocked that audience. Oh yeah. Makes me wish that show was still around. Yeah, this one is definitely worthy of major showcasing. I'll try to point out a few things. Right? Things that Coco does casually with a seeming effortlessness. Like take that third line, against all odds with the weight of mountains upon my back. Okay, so there's, you know, this is someone who has a history of, you know, she's read things and she's got an arsenal. That's what I'm trying to say. And that next line is another example. I can hold the universe in the palm of my hand and create a new one with the other. Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah. If you need some kind of metaphor, I am standing in front like a blockade of titanium steel, shielding their prosecution. Oh yeah. I remember, you know, something I remember because I've read this poem before, right? I love that line about fighting back little chihuahuas like you. That is pure direct hit. And of course, the balls line. Little brain. I mean, I could try to come up with a critique here, because whenever you repeat a word, like you said, little chihuahuas and then little brain, I'm supposing that you did that on purpose. And usually the rule is if it's only twice, it's hard to know if it's on purpose. If it's 3 times or more, then you know it's on purpose. Otherwise, this is something I was just telling the poet the other day, Cynthia Bryant, right? Because she said she was self-taught. So she seemed to be open to tidbits of advice. So my major tidbit I give myself is if I have words repeating and I don't mean to, I come up with a synonym and see if it sounds better. So there are synonyms for little. Even the word small comes to mind right away if you haven't used it already. Right, little chihuahuas sounds good already, and maybe that shunt in your small brain, you'll get alliteration that way, that shunt in your small brain. See, I know this is your darling.
No, I like that. It wasn't intentional. It was not intentional. So it was something I missed.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's an improvement in terms of alliteration, and you don't lose a thing at all. That's for sure.
How about, can I do minuscule?
Go ahead. Because that's got the S in it too, so I still get what I want. Yeah, and then you know the word's worth about $1.50 more than small. You know, small is not worth a lot. Minuscule, that's $1.50 at least. Paying by the word, you know. The door of truth, it's somewhere. And it gets very explicit here, which is awesome. Right? I love a poem that doesn't hold back. That's why you would have floored the people over there. You would have. I can just imagine it. We got to set that up for you somehow.
Yeah, I've never been to the poetry lounge. I keep hearing about it.
Get you an audience. I'll just put that little thing in the back of my brain and we'll try to get you an audience. And those lines toward the end, I am a goddess, I am an empress, I am the queen of queens. This is just so empowering. Yeah, the Statue of Liberty analogy. And that last line, the last thing. And with this poem, you will never be rid of me. Oh, yeah. See, that's the attitude. That's the attitude more people got to have. You know, you can change the world. You know, it starts with us. One more poem. So sad. Just one more poem. This is a sampling, so people get a taste of Coco. And I hope people watch this episode, man. We got to make sure this gets seen.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I'm going to trust all the people in our community and in YouTube, you know, pass it around.
And on that happy note.
Yeah, I know, right? The colors of trauma. So a lot of what I write about isn't feminist poetry, although it has been lately. A lot of what I write about is trauma-based. I've lived with post-traumatic stress disorder since I was a little girl, and then it graduated. I didn't know it could do that into complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So a lot of what I write about is my trauma, and trigger warnings if you ever read any of my works, because it's in everything. So here is a look inside my homicidal trauma-based mind. The colors of trauma. Happiness is a color palette that my brush refuses to pick up. My canvas of epiphany and strife have only ever allowed the cold, dark dust of charcoal on a white surface. I have lived my life in the shadows amidst grief and forlorn solitude, built skyscrapers made from distrust that towered to the heavens, only to shake my fists in envy at its beauty. I damn myself to hell and walk hand in hand, holding unrelenting anger, a kind that turns fireflies into arsonists burning down the rainforest. My inner joker laughs and giggles at the thoughts of punishment and pain. My damnation is my own doing. Suffering is the same, but I am a blind oracle looking into an orb with self-pity and loathing. I am no deity, no savior or salvation to be worshipped. This blue flame of vengeance dances so elegantly in my mind. Lustful thoughts of suicidal and homicidal bliss sing harmonies of peace. Everlasting justice delivered in a smiling box by his doorstep. I could be the fly on a wall that witnesses his kaleidoscope of terror. My paintbrush finally has color. My canvas has changed from white to red.
Oh yeah, I've read this one before. I remember that last line. I saw that last line coming. Oh my God. It's just extraordinary. We'll go back to the start. I think by now people get an idea that you are a poet to be reckoned with and respected.
Thank you so much.
So some might try to pigeon you as spoken word, but that's pigeonholing is what it is, because there's so much here. Look at that first stanza. Happiness is a color palette. And then you have the third line, the cold, dark dust of charcoal on a white surface. What a contrast. What a conscious contrast there. And then it goes on, my life in the shadow. See, everything's hearkening to each other. All the lines are hearkening to each other is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. That third stanza at the end of that third line in the third stanza, my inner joker laughs and giggles at thoughts of punishment and pain. Wow. That's it's an illusion, and it's also empowering. It's just empowering. But then the fourth stanza, this one I had to think about. My damnation is my own doing. Suffering is the same, but I'm a blind oracle looking into an orb of self-pity and loathing. That's the downside. That's the low point here. I am no deity, no savior or salvation to be worshipped. Worshipped might be two P's. I don't know if this is a word that goes either way, but it might be two P's.
Let's see.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. Check it. It might be two. It might be two. All right. The little editor in me said, mention it. So I did. The Blue Flame of Vengeance. Love it. Yeah, and that makes me think of, somebody puts their head in the oven type of thing. Everlasting justice delivered in a smiling box by his doorstep. Wow, what is that? Wow, 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 wow. Wow, wow, wow. Just imagine. But I could be a fly on the wall that witnesses his kaleidoscope of terror. Oh, that's the setup. That's the setup, people. You should know this is coming. Kaleidoscope. I've read this poem before, and I still get the foreboding. I'm like, oh, I know what's coming. My paintbrush finally has color, and my canvas has changed. White to red. Oh. That is subtle and more than subtle, It's just amazing. I mean, I can give you a weak ass comparison. I remember writing a poem I think it was 1985, right? I was still a young whipper, 25 years old. And I don't know how I got the idea, but this, my idea was nowhere even in the same zip code as this, except for the fact that I was young and brash, and I said something like I was trying to inspire somebody to write a poem. And I said, what if I put my finger to your head, and then, like the poem will bleed onto the page. Yeah. But that, it's just a dark note in my memory of when I hadn't been fully polished in my writing yet. And I was just trying my hand at metaphor, trying to make an impression with my troupe in 1985. That was my first exposure to going to poetry readings and getting a chance to read. And I remember reading that poem. It was in some restaurant. And it was a short poem. It was like maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 lines, And I read it, and people said, what did you say? Read that again. And so got a reaction, right? And I like to think in a far larger sense, people that see this poem, they'll want to read it and reread it like I do. Yeah. So that brings us to the most necessary thing of all. How can people get their hands on Coco's poetry?
Oh my goodness.
Tell us how. Tell us how.
Well, Four Feathers Press has my chapbook, my most recent chapbook available, Suffragette Free, right?
And you have the ebook.
I do have the ebook.
Yeah, so people can order directly from you.
Yeah, I need to get Dean his copy.
Yeah, the world still loves physical copies, so we got to do that too.
Yeah, and then
yeah.
Amazon does have my first complete book on its site, but I would prefer that you get it from me because Amazon will charge you $18 and I'll charge you $10.
So you got that, people? Deal with Coco directly.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Facebook Messenger. Yeah. My legal name is a trigger, but hey, there's ways around it. You can still search and find me as Coco. And I'm part of Spectrum Publishing, so you can always find me there.
Yeah, she's a Spectrum regular from the get-go. I remember.
Historian and publicist in terms of media and promotion. So you can always find me with Spectrum or on Facebook.
All right. Well, thank you, Coco. It is an honor to attempt to make you more famous.
Yay.
Yeah. So I hope this gets watched by as many people as possible so people can see and hear Coco's poetry, which needs to be seen and heard. Yeah. All right. I'm going to end this show with a push of a button.